On today's show, the Boston Celtics have done it. They have advanced. I don't think anybody was thinking anything different was going to happen there. And the Mavs take a very, very decisive 3-2 lead. Is that going to be the killer in this Mavs OKC series? All that and more, and of course, count it up. Pat the designer, Swiper in the building. Let's go.
You are Locked On NBA, your daily NBA podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome into another edition of Locked On NBA. I'm your host, Pat the Designer, and I am joined by Swiper, filling in for Nick, who knows what Nick is out there doing. He's out there living a life, partying it up. Get hype, man. He did date night, man. Shout out Big Nick out there.
Date night at Texas Roadhouse for the cinnamon rolls with the cinnamon butter.
You got to go for the cinnamon rolls, bro. It's the only reason to go, man. We appreciate you guys tuning in and showing love. Welcome into another edition, like I said, Locked On NBA, member of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day. I host Locked On Bulls. Swiper hosting Locked On Nuggets, so he's having a much better time in the playoffs than I am because we're not in the playoffs. But we got some interesting games to sit here and break down. Of course, looking at that Boston-Cleveland game, looking at the Mavs OKC game, and then count it up as well. Let's start it off with this Boston game, Swiper, because I think that this is such an interesting. They finally closed the deal. They finally get the win. I mean, there's so much to be said about this Boston team, except for the fact that it comes against a Cleveland Cavaliers team that, I mean, they struggled mightily through a good chunk of this season. What have you seen from Boston that has got them to this point? And is it enough for them to get over the hump?
Yeah, I mean, they're one of the best teams of the modern era. They've, point differential, all that stuff on their side. They've been dominant in the playoffs. I mean, they went into tonight, I think they were a minus 16-point favorite on FanDuel going into the game, which I think is like, per understanding of Brother Matt Moore, one of the largest point differentials for a game past the first round. So it's just, they're just dominant. And on top of that, they're mostly healthy outside of Kristaps. Now, obviously, that's a huge loss. Kristaps is their fourth or fifth best player. But the thing is, Brad Stevens built them so well that even without him, Al Horford was able to give you really quality time today. 22 points, 15 rebounds, and 6 and 5 assists for Al Horford. You don't expect those kind of performances from him, but he's been able to play a nice little connected passer there in the middle of that offense, and he's connecting on those three-pointers. He put up 13 threes today and made 6 of them. So that's when Al Horford's at his best. If he's hitting those little pop shots that he gets and setting his form, and then I think the Boston Celtics are out their very best, when they have all 5 of their players, or at least 4 to 5 on the court that are hitting three-pointers. So, look, the Celtics, everybody thought that the Eastern Conference would just have a little bit different story to it. But obviously, no fault of their own. There's no Jimmy Butler in the first round. Now in this series, Donovan Mitchell missed the last 2 games. Jared Allen wasn't there, period. And then Karis LeVert is somehow out as well in this game. So, there's just a lot of stuff that just kind of went their way, but that's basketball. You need luck on your side. 2021, Milwaukee Bucks, I don't think they get past the Nets if James Harden, Kyrie Irving, and Kevin Durant are on the court, and they went to a Game 7. I don't think the Boston Celtics in 2022, they might not get past the Bucks if Chris Middleton is on the court, and they needed an extra shot maker in Game 7. That's just the NBA. You have to be able to take care of business of what's in front of you, and Boston's done that at a high level. Jason Tatum's been playing a lot better the last 3 games offensively while still being a good defender, good connected passer. And then on top of that, too, Jaylen Brown, you didn't need to get a lot from him today, but he understood his role. I don't need to put up a lot of shots, only 9 shots for him today, but they get the win, 113-98, and their first team to advance to the conference finals, maybe with the team to follow on Thursday. So we'll figure it out, man. But Boston, they're taking care of business. They're doing what they're supposed to do. They're getting rid of these teams, even if they're hurt and decimated. They're sending them home quickly. So that's all you can ask for.
Yeah, the one thing that I love about this Celtics team is, to me, like, that you're finally kind of seeing okay, we need our big name players to step up in those moments. I thought tonight Jason Tatum really did a good job of just, hey, listen, this is the night where we know that we should win this game. We know that we have all the advantage on our side. And realistically speaking, we're going to put these guys away quickly. I just need one of my brothers to come along with me and be able to help me make this thing happen. And when you look at the production, this is the exact type of guy that you need on your team. Al Horford, just give me a moment, give me a second, give me one game here, one game there. Those are the players that get you over the top. Al Horford's been a glue guy for this team for years to come, and I think that he just continues to do that. I love the contribution that we saw out of him tonight and that we've seen out of him throughout the playoffs. And then, the name that stands out to me, that it's kind of the one that I continue to say, okay, this team will go as far as that third guy without Kristaps in the lineup, that third guy stepping up that you need. And it's Derek White. I think Derek White to me is like, he is the answer for, okay, who's the guy that's going to do the extra mile, that's going to make the dirty play, and by dirty, I mean like doing the dirty work, not hurting somebody out here, but that's going to give you that little bit of oomph to put you over the top. That was Derek White tonight, 4 for 9 from the 3-point line, shooting at 44%, been very active, hasn't been, I guess, maybe the best version of himself in every game, but every game where he has been the best version of himself, you've seen the Celtics be a completely different basketball team. He is the key guy that I'm cluing in on when I look at this Boston Celtics team having the ultimate success. Of course, you know what Tatum and Brown have to bring, but if they bring it, what does Derek White bring to give you that extra?
Yeah, Derek White's averaging 18, 4 and 4, 64 true shooting so far in the playoffs. His shooting splits are, especially for the role that he's asked to occupy. And he's actually playing even better early on, especially the last couple of games, kind of dipped his numbers a little bit, but 48.5% from the field, 43.5% from three, and 88% from the free throw line. And again, to be getting a player that's your secondary ball, or really the thing is what the Celtics did such a good job of. They got Drew Holiday, Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, and Derek White, and then Peyton Pritchard and Sam Howell are coming off the bench. So ostensibly, they have 5 people that can be legitimate ball handlers on their roster, and that's what you need in the playoffs. You want to have people that can bring the ball up the court, that offer you some versatility. You have 5 different people that can set your offense in motion if you need them to, and especially they have 4, and that's Derek, Drew, Jason, and Jaylen. So they're such a well-constructed team. And Derek White has slotted in so well because he's one of the best defenders in the league. He's carried it over to the playoffs, but then to be able to get that kind of shot making from him, it makes them just that much better. And again, it brings so many different things to the floor. Now, again, the Celtics offense, in the regular season, I believe on dunks and threes, if I remember the number correctly, I think they shot 47% of their shots from 3 in the regular season, but they also were the best 3-point shooting team in the league, basically.
Right.
So that's their formula. They're going to get threes up. They're going to try to make a lot of threes. Now, if you can take them out of that game, or if they're not hitting their threes at the rate they need to, that's when you make it a game. That's when you make it a series. So whoever they do face in the playoffs, they're going to have to throw a game plan out there that limits their open 3-point attempts, make sure that you're running them off the line. But when you do that, you can't overhelp. You got to protect the rim, and then you also have to make sure you're not giving up backside rotations, not in doing your proper X out. Because if you don't X out correctly with this team, you might throw it in the corner to Drew Holiday, but next thing you know, Al Horford is sitting there at the left wing, and he's wide open, ready to put it into the basket. So, again, the Celtics are taking care of business. Joe Mazzulla, he's learned his roster even more over the last year, and I like the fact that Tatum is gaining some momentum now because I think for him, it's important for Tatum, I think, because he's going to be put in a situation, I believe they're going to make the NBA Finals, or at least they're going to play against, I think, maybe the New York Knicks. We'll see.
Right, yeah.
But Tatum's going to he's averaging 30, 11, and 7 the last 3 games of the playoffs, 47% from the field, just 30% from 3. And he's shooting 100% from the free throw line. So Tatum has picked up his play, and he's going to need that because in order to beat Jalen Brunson, and then even though there's no Julius Randle, no Mitchell Robinson, no OG Anunoby, more than likely. So again, not a fully constructed New York Knicks roster. But it's important for him, I think, to have momentum going into that Knicks series. That way he feels confident with his game, confident with his shot, confident that he can get to the hole, because he's going to need that shot making the more and more they go on, because especially if he's going to have the ball in his hands, he has to make sure he's affecting the game at an efficient enough clip offensively, because that's going to be a really important tag point for their offense and through the rest of the playoffs.
No, for sure. I agree with everything you just said there. And man, like you look at the construction of this Boston team, it does excite you. And it does to me, especially with some of the injuries that are in place on the way, right? You mentioned the Milwaukee Bucks. This could be that season for Boston where they find their way to an NBA Finals with a good amount of rest, a good amount of time in between series, and ability to kind of go out there and have the advantage in that aspect. Before we get into this next segment where we are going to break down this Mavs 3-2 lead, I do want to touch on the Cavs just a little bit. We got a report from Shams that I think is important to bring to this episode of Locked On NBA, talking about how some members of the Cavs were frustrated with Jared Allen after he refused to take an injection and try and numb the pain and play through his ribs injury. This comes from Shams Charania. We've also heard a lot of the reports about Donovan Mitchell. Just like, I mean, every report that I've heard is basically like, I don't want to be here, but like they won't let me leave. Do you feel like we're seeing this Cleveland Cavaliers team kind of implode in front of our eyes, and they need to kind of find a way to pivot off of this current roster?
I don't think it's necessarily an implosion. What it feels like, if Donovan Mitchell got traded to a place that I don't think was his first choice. And again, Donovan said all the right things. He's done all the right things. He very well could stay in Cleveland because he's been really successful there. The team has worked out really well. But here's the problem. Donovan Mitchell right now, he's in a situation where they need to get him on the books and on a signed deal, because he has one more or two more after this season. He has one more guaranteed year, then he has a player option.
Right.
If I'm Cleveland, I'm just not. You just cannot play with that this summer. So you need to get him signed to a max. He's going to be a super max this year because he's going to be an all NBA player. So if they're willing to commit that and say, hey, here's $300 million. Let's lock this in together, then we can do it. And then I'd love to have him stay. But if Donovan Mitchell at all, it's like, you know what? I think I want to test, see how the year goes, see what we do, coaching and all that stuff. Look, man, we know how the story goes. Just go ahead and do it. Do it while the value's high. A lot of franchises, they get to this point and they're like, you know what? We want to hold on. We want to do this and that. Just go ahead. Get the assets, because the thing is, you can get a nice haul from teams in LA, teams in Texas, teams in New York, teams in Miami. There's a bunch of teams that would love to say, oh, here, open the chest up. What would you like? Go ahead and take it. We have 4 or 5 first-round picks for you. Would you like some swaps? Young assets? Here you go. Draft picks? They're going to do all that. And I think for this is like, it's not an implosion, but I'm not going to let Donovan Mitchell hold my franchise hostage as good as he's been. And I think the Darius Garland portion to this, I never thought Donovan and Darius were going to be enough to win, to go to the final or win a championship, because you just can't have like a bunch of small players on the court. Right. Donovan's 6'1". Darius is 6 feet tall. Neither one of them are elite defender. Donovan is a good defender when he locks in because he has 6'10" wingspan, but Darius doesn't have that type of ability. So, and then on top of that, the Evan Mobley, Jared Allen front court, they're non-spacers, non-shooters. And then now they have Isaac Okoro, or they're going to put Dean Wade, or they put Max Strus there. So they're just missing some of the contemporary parts that you need to be able to take on, say, the Boston Celtics for real, to make it to the NBA Finals, or a fully healthy Knicks team that's going to have, Jalen Brunson, Dante DiVincenzo, Josh Hart, OG Anunoby, Julius Randle, Mitchell Robinson, Isaiah Hartenstein, and Deuce McBride, that are going to play hunting basketball, that we're going to be tough, physical, and defense. Like, you just need a certain archetype of player, and you need size. So I think they just need to get more size. And if they're not going to get anything out of this Donovan Mitchell deal, meaning he's not going to sign, trade him, get some young assets. So for me, it's not blowing it up. Jamie Bickerstaff has a really good reputation in some places around the league. I mean, he was up for Coach of the Year a couple years ago as well. But again, if they're having issues internally, that stuff comes out in articles, not an accident that is coming out. So you want to just kind of go ahead and just clean house if that's the case. We're just going to kind of refresh everything else. But the thing is, they can refresh from a point of advantage, because now you got Evan Mobley and Jared Allen on the roster, and so you can figure out what you need to do. So I just hope for the sake of Cleveland Cavaliers fans, they don't have to go through like 2 months of waiting, and then the franchise we're not trading Donovan Mitchell, and then just come back next year, they lose again in the first round or second round, and then they come back next year, Donovan Mitchell opts out and says, all right, we're not coming back.
Yeah, no, there's a lot of question marks around this Cleveland team, especially leaving the playoffs. I do agree with you. I don't think that the release of the Jared Allen report was a random timing, that it comes out 40 minutes, 50 minutes after the game ends up finishing out. So I think that they've got some questions that they got to answer there. They got to adjust some things with this team, but Cleveland's an interesting piece, I think, for a lot of teams looking to make trades this offseason. All right, we got to get to this Mavs topic. We're well over. Nick is going to be upset at me, but it is what it is. We having good content. That's what this show is about. That's why we show up on Locked On NBA every freaking week. But we do have to tell you guys all about eBay Motors. We're going to do that coming up next. Passion, drive, and patience, the formula for winning championships, is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance: superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay's guaranteed fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride or die every time, or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need and the prices you want, it's easy to make your car the MVP and bring home huge wins. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions do apply. eBay guaranteed fit. Only available to U.S. customers. All right, Swiper, we got to get back into this basketball talk. Such good games around the NBA, such good series. I don't know if all the games were excellent, I should say, but I think that we've got some really good back and forth series. And one of the best has been this Dallas Mavericks OKC series. I mean, like, you're getting the back and forth that you want from a matchup that, yes, one was the 1 seed, one was the 5 seed, but you looked at both of these teams finishing the year going, that Western Conference is so bunched up. You just, like, who's really the 1 seed here? Who's really the best team coming out of all of this? Dallas taking this decisive win. We know what getting that Game 5 win means in the playoffs. Are you ready to say that Dallas is the team that takes this series?
No, I picked Thunder in 7 prior to the series. And, it's going to be interesting. Shai Gilgeous has been playing really well, but he had no help today.
Yeah.
No help today on the court. Now, again, a lot of this is the Thunder are obviously a very young team, but I don't want to use that as a barometer, like, of why they won't have success. They just missed a lot of shots today. The Thunder across the board shot 25% from 3 and 43% from the field. Now, if you can tell me they'll do that again in Game 6, and Dallas is going to shoot 40% from the field and 53% or 40% from 3 and 53% from the field, then sure, no problem.
Right.
But listen to this: Shai Gilgeous, 36-8, 12 of 22, really good. J-Dub, 12 points. Chet Holmgren, 13 points. Lou Dort, 12 points. Isaiah Joe, 6 points. Josh Giddey off the bench, 11 points. They just, and again, the efficiency was okay for some of the players, but there just wasn't enough impact. And then on top of that, the Dallas Mavericks were running them off the line, and some of those shots at the end of the game, they could have just pulled and fired, but they just couldn't get enough stops on the other end as well, because the Maverick hitting shots. And then, Luka's jumper was working today. When Luka's jumper's on, it's really difficult to deal with him. But the thing is, Shai was hitting shots, and Shai was even 2 of 4 from the 3-point line today, and it's only a -3 in a game that they lost by 12. So I think that the OKC Thunder will respond. I don't know if they're going to be able to win Game 6, just because the Mavericks are proven to be a very formidable team.
Yeah.
Their defense is playing a lot better than they did at any point in time prior to those trades, and so they've been a different team with a different belief. And Kyrie also has been able to perform. Luka Doncic is 31, 10, and 11 on 12 of 22 from the field, a +13, and then Kyrie today just 12 points. But again, he has those timely shots that, like, just kind of break your back. Like, he had a 3-pointer today that was kind of out of just, one of those things, like, you close out the possession,
Luka magic.
You're moving, you're doing what you need to do, and then he just hits the shot in the first place anyway. So in the PJ Washington, 10 and 10 today, again, 4 of 9, hit a huge 3 in the fourth quarter.
Yes.
In the last 5 minutes. So just stuff like that. If you're OKC, you're already working so hard to contain the top 2 So I do expect them to be able to play a better game in Game 6. And then I do think if it gets to a Game 7, you're telling me it's a Game 7 in OKC. I don't know. We'll see.
I think what's interesting is, and you mentioned those trades. Me and Nick have talked about this a couple of times on this podcast here, is that this Mavericks team is just so different with the threats that they now have defensively inside. When you add DJJ at the start of the season, Daniel Gafford through a trade, PJ Washington, right? When you add an interior threat that's willing to stand in there and not just, okay, you're going to come in here and you're going to get free cheese every time you come down here. That's something that Dallas struggled with last couple of seasons. Now, all of a sudden, we're seeing teams have to take some of those three-point shots because you're not getting that option to opt inside the three. And OKC, to their credit, I mean, you have to give the Dallas Mavericks credit for how they defended the three-point line in this one as well. OKC, not a bad three-point shooting team. They just couldn't find the broad side of the barn today. Like it was one of those games to me where it was like, the focus that they were focusing on the three-pointer, took 43s, shot it at a 25% clip for the day. And the only person who was really efficient from there was Shea.
Yeah.
But the other option that was available to you was, okay, we drive in the paint, we try to attack on Gafford, we try to attack on PJ Washington, we try to attack on Lively. And that wasn't a good option for them either as well. So it is kind of, to me, they have to find this three ball again. They have not shot it well the last couple of games. They have to find a way to find this three ball, because if you don't, I feel like the Mavs have enough defense on the interior now that they can just sit there and say, listen, if you're going to miss, we're not going to let you dominate us down low.
Well, they just have athletes now, like, and then, I don't, it's just.
You get nervous? You get a little nervous?
No nervous. I can't believe sometimes how NBA GMs think, because there are players like Nickeil Alexander-Walker. You should have heard me, Pat, screaming last summer. Why would people not go after a 6'5.5" combo guard who can play on and off the ball? That's an elite perimeter defender, and then he gets a 2-year, $9 million deal. And I'm like, what are you looking at? What are you looking at? Why would you not do this? And of course, he's a huge cog why the Minnesota Timberwolves have one of the best defenses in modern NBA history. And then there's this guy, PJ Washington, just kind of just floating away in Charlotte. I'm like, why would somebody not want a 6'9" athlete that can shoot and can play a little bit of defense and put the ball on the floor at times if you need to be? Also, there's this guy. What is his name? You might be a little familiar. Derek Jones Jr.
Yeah, I'm familiar.
Yeah, Derek Jones Jr. Would you like to have a super athlete for $0 a year, basically? No problem. And guess what? 19 points today on 7 of 9 and 3 of 5. I don't know what people are looking at.
Yeah.
Like, Derek has been a revelation this year, and it's just rebounding because he's so athletic. And then you give him Luka Doncic, and it's like, I can have somebody that can literally find me all over the court at any point in time. I'm just telling you, man, like the Mavs, they had just great decision-making at the trade deadline, and it's all made the difference for where they are right now.
100%. They're a completely different team to me. I think that they are a threat. I don't know if they will. I don't know if they'll get through Denver. That's still a tough team. But like, if you were to tell me that the Mavs were facing off on the T-Wolves, who are bringing one of those best defenses that you have and do have interior presence with Rudy Gobert and Karl Anthony Towns, I'd say that you got a fight on your hands. You know what I mean? And if you do go up against Denver, I'd say the same thing. There's a serious fight on your hands. The Mavs have a real chance to make an NBA Finals this season. And by the way, Kyrie Irving is playing Robin. Like, legitimately Robin. Like, he's not even like Batman and Nightwing. Like, he's literally just like, nah, like, you do. I mean, Luka, you do what you do when you need me to step in, because I don't know if you saw that list of injuries that Luka basically is dealing with right now. When those get too much, let me step up. I'll come in. We'll knock some shots down, and we're going to keep this thing rolling. They have the perfect 1-2 punch right now of two guys who can kind of just allow each other to operate, and they also have that perfect set of role players. I love how Dallas has built this team, and it does make them a contender to me.
Yeah. I mean, it's going to be interesting nonetheless, whoever they play. I just think the most physical series you can possibly imagine has been the Nuggets and Wolves. So
yeah.
They're not going to get any more aggressive than that. So I think a lot of this is like whoever comes out of that Wolf Nugget series, it's going to be a step down in physicality, and depending on who they're playing, the Wolves, it'll be a step down in skill as well from the Nuggets, physicality and skill.
Yeah.
I think on the other end for the Nuggets would be a step down in physicality, but a team that has more skill offensively than the Wolves do. So again, the Mavs present their own challenges, but we'll see.
Yeah,
because like I said, original pick was Thunder in 7. I'm going to see if they can go win that game 6. They win game 6, it's going to get real interesting.
Listen, we saw how they won game 4. We were all sitting here like, all right, this might be wraps. Here we go. And then all of a sudden, here they come. And I thought that run might be happening tonight as well, but just not enough. All right, we got to get into Count It Up, the final segment on today's episode. But first, we got to tell you guys all about BetterHelp right after this. I am a huge proponent of getting help, and BetterHelp is one of the best people out there. This podcast is brought to you by BetterHelp. And I mean, listen, at certain times, you just need to get things off of your chest. You just need to kind of figure out how things are working for you, get things off your chest in your life. And I'll tell you what, BetterHelp has been one of the best products for that. I mean, you're talking about a product where literally it's all done at your convenience. It's all designed to fit perfectly for you. You take a questionnaire, you go through the questionnaire, it literally designs the perfect therapist for you. And if that does not work perfectly for you, guess what? BetterHelp makes it so convenient that you can even send in a text, send in a different, and say that you're looking for something a little bit different. No feelings are hurt. Nobody's upset. They swap you out, finding you the right person for you. Because here's the most important thing. Getting things off your chest to make you feel better mentally. That's what it all comes down to. Get it off your chest with BetterHelp. Visit BetterHelp.com/LockedOnNBA to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp.com/LockedOnNBA to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/LockedOnNBA. All right, Swiper, it's that time. That time that everybody on the Wednesday or Thursday episode, I should say, is always waiting for. It's time for Count It Up, ladies and gentlemen.
Big chicken, baby. Zion Williamson and porn star.
Take that for that.
Count it up. Count it up. Count it up. Count it up. Count it up.
The NBA landscape seems like it is about to change from everything that we once knew, with a new bid to take over NBA basketball. NBC coming in, trying to bring the NBA home, which means it would be the end of Inside the NBA. My question to you,
Count it up.
scale of 1 to 5, how upset are you that Inside the NBA is coming to an end?
Is it for sure coming to an end?
Seems like, as Chuck said, it seems like he is unaware. And if it is coming to an end, the recreation of it.
I mean, unless you bring the crew back together as in totality, they've won Emmys for a reason. Like this, it's the most popular sports show, I want to say, like in America, like for a reason. You know, so it's, you know, it's just not even a question for me. Like, you don't ruin like chemistry. You never touch chemistry. You never let money get in the way of chemistry. That's why you, Pat, you're in a relationship. Things are going really well. Things are moving in the right direction for you with your partner. You don't ruin it off a check. Like, you always hold on to chemistry. You can never replace that.
I agree with you. I think what's tough about that is I don't know if the NBA would agree with you. And I think that realistically, that is why we will see this end up coming to an end. It is a 5 for me as well. And it's a 5 for me for a couple of different reasons. One, because the part that's going to suck the most about all of this is, you know, like we've seen with NFL on Fox, like we've seen with MLB on Fox, like we've seen with how the NHL is trying to do things as well. Everyone wants to recreate Inside the NBA. Everybody wants to run this show back. Everybody wants to find their mix. And you know what no one's been able to do? Recreate Inside the NBA. I mean, my God. They brought Rob Gronkowski to NFL on Fox to try and be the Charles Barkley of that show. And I don't know if you watched the Tom Brady roast, but it was accurate what Bill Belichick said. Please stop doing your job, sir. Like, you are just bad at this job. And I think here's the thing as well. This is the only reason why I feel like, okay, I would be okay with it coming to an end. Charles Barkley has talked for the last couple of years about, I'm kind of getting done with this. I'm kind
He
of
just signed a $20 million deal a year.
I feel you, but these are Chuck's words where he says, listen, yeah, I mean, the end is near. I can see the end in sight. I would hate for them to try and recreate what they've had with someone else.
Well, it depends. Like another network can carry it, but it has to be the exact same in the chemistry, but in the people. Now they'll change the show structure to make it different. That's what happens. But so I will say this: the UEFA Champions League today on CBS Sports. I don't know if you ever watched that. But Kate Abdo with Jamie Carragher, Thierry Henry, Micah Richards is probably the second best sports show, and they have a very similar format, but they have a core four. Yes. So the thing is like it will be a 5 because generations have been raised on them. And again, a lot of people, there's some people that are more basketball purists. I'm a mix of purists and like eye test and like narrative. I like all of it. I just lean into numbers and information because that's how you tell stories, like, and who's better, who's impacting the game more, this and that. Like people are going to tell you, oh, DeMar DeRozan averaged so and so many points. I'm like, DeMar DeRozan didn't impact basketball. It didn't impact winning. So don't resign him to a $30 million a year deal for 3 years. Just don't do that.
Can I get you to talk to AK real quick?
I'm
exactly.
Scared.
I'm scared up here.
But I think that like if you ruin that, like Shaq, Kenny, Chuck, and Ernie have literally like, you know what I mean? Like it's just a part of the fabric of the league. When the NBA comes around, the season comes around, it's like, yo, inside the NBA is back. You know?
Chuck, it's still on, right? I'm watching it as we're recording this episode. For some reason, Shaq just took a turkey out and a dragon appeared and just burnt up Shaq. Dog, I'm not even joking. That's what's happening on the screen right now. You can't recreate this anywhere else. Like he is laying on the desk right now. I love inside the NBA. I feel like this show is tough to recreate. And I know they've got Draymond on there today. That's always been the mindset that Draymond would take over when one of these guys left. I don't even know if that does it. I don't even know if that does it.
He has too much hate. The whole Rudy Gobert thing yesterday, like it's just too much. It's too much. It's too much right now. Maybe as he gets further away from his playing career, but right now, like you just know. He said he talk, what are you saying about Rudy and stuff? I was just like, well, come on, bro. Like,
well, now we got to get to the next count it up here. That was where we were going here. Scale of 1 to 5. How petty is Draymond for the Rudy Gobert comments here, my guy?
5. This a dude sound jealous he doesn't have 4 DPOIs, and then he's going to say he's not jealous because he has 4 championships. So I know how this works because the same thing Klay Thompson's going to do. They're going to do this. That's how they let you know that they don't care about what you have to say. So, it's obviously about the DPOY stuff, about the defensive player stuff, all that stuff. He choked him out like 3 months ago. We didn't forget.
Exactly. And my thing with watching it, and now listen, the French comment, it was funny. I'm not gonna lie. I give him that. I give him that. It was a little funny, but the part for me is just like, we're sitting here saying that Rudy Gobert is a fraud for not being able to slow down one of the most unstoppable players in NBA history. Like we understand that there were defensive player of the years that couldn't stop Michael Jordan, right? Like we understand that there were
couldn't stop Shaq. Tim Duncan couldn't stop Shaq. Like there's plenty of it. I mean, I just don't understand. For me, it's just so wild. Ben Wallace struggled with Shaq. For me, it's so crazy that like we're in a social media age. There's more people watching the game than ever. And it's like Draymond got cooked by Joker. AD gets cooked by Joker. Bam gets cooked by Joker. Who else Jared Allen gets cooked by Joker. So why would Rudy be any different?
There's one player in the NBA this year who Joker scored more on than Rudy Gobert. It's Victor Wembanyama, who averaged the most blocks per game out of anybody this season. Oh, by the way, it's 70 points. Yeah. He only played him one time, but he put up 70 points on his head. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like
Embiid
he's kind of
70,
unstoppable.
Yeah. Right.
You know
right.
what I mean?
Right. Yeah, I think Joker averaged 33 and 15 versus him, and B gave him a 70 ball. So yeah, I mean, what are we doing?
It's one of those things where I love the conversation around it, but I don't believe that Rudy Gobert is a fraud because he can't stop one of the most unstoppable players in NBA history. All right, let's keep this one going. Let's finish it off with this here, because I think that this has been an interesting conversation around NBA circles, especially around Lakers fans right now. Bronny James taking part in the NBA Combine and had a little bit of an up and down day. The first day, second day, showed out. One of the leading scorers out there, puts up 13 points. My question to you: what franchise is going to mess themselves up by drafting Bronny James too high?
Mess themselves up. I mean, he could
Trying to chase LeBron here. Trying to chase LeBron is what.
Yeah, he could go as early as the late first, and that's obviously a gamble. But if it pays off, it pays off. So honestly, what about one of the teams that's going to be deep in the playoffs, like Celtics, Nuggets? No, I don't think Nuggets do it too small. Not on ball guard.
Yeah, not coming in at 6'1".
The Mavs, yeah, the Timberwolves. Why not? Why not? You know, like
just
but
taking
also,
a chance.
Like in the late first round. But here's the thing: in the second round, at that point, you're already guessing in the second round. Bronny can grow a little more. He can get more skilled in what he's supposed to do. And what if he becomes an elite defender? Like, who doesn't want an extra elite defender that's a super athlete on the court with him? So, you know, I still think that like he has a lot of promise if he is able to develop his game.
I just think a lot of people are going to follow the allure, and the numbers don't help it, right? I understand the late first round. Late first round is fine. But when you see he put up 13 points versus everybody in the draft combine, hold on now. He knocked down 12 threes. Wait a minute. This kid is LeBron James' son. Can we get a year of LeBron and maybe get a developing prospect? I think Bronny James is going to shoot up draft boards here a little bit higher than many people thought. And I think that there's going to be some franchises here that are going to take a chance on him, probably 15 down. And I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if the Lake. I agree with you. I 100% agree with you that it's too high. But I think teams are going to look at the allure.
The Lakers would make sense. They just got Hood Fashino last year at 17, and he didn't do anything. And it tanked their season that they didn't get Jaime Jaquez Jr. at that spot. So
I agree.
No, they just can't do it. You got LeBron, and they can't do it. You can't afford to do it. Don't ruin that. Just don't like any GM that does that at this point. Like you're gonna waste millions of dollars, draft capital, a whole year of sucking or being good or maneuvering to like just take a gamble on a maybe LeBron. That's Nathaniel Hackett to Denver for Aaron Rodgers all over again.
I agree with you, dog. I fully agree with
you. That's Nathaniel Hackett to the Jets all over again.
Anywhere Nathaniel Hackett goes, let's be real on that. No, I look at the Bronny James situation and I go, people are going to believe. People are going to look at him and say, no, he's doing more than we thought he was going to do. We can develop that. We can build that, and we can get LeBron. I wouldn't be surprised. One, if the Lakers took him 17, I'd be like, that's insane. But I wouldn't be surprised to see it. But I think teams are going to take a little bit more of a look at Bronny James. Let us know how you guys feel in the comments below, man. Let us know how you guys feel about Boston advancing, about the Mavs taking a 3-2 lead, and anything that you heard here in Counted Up. Appreciate you guys for tuning in and showing love for Swipe. It's your boy, Pat the Designer, back at it again. Y'all stay safe out there, world. The NBA world is a buzz, and we absolutely love it. Peace.